I spilled milk tea on the CEO and accidentally gained telepathy. I spilled milk tea on the CEO, and by accident, I gained telepathy. My boss scolded me for not looking where I was going. The CEO had a cold, stern expression, but inside, he muttered, "The taste doesn't seem bad. If she buys me a cup, I'll make her the assistant to the CEO right away." So, I rose to a higher position with just 1 cup of milk tea, and every day I smiled like a billionaire. Someone suggested, "It's getting cold. Let's make the Wei family bankrupt, the Li family bankrupt, the Chen family bankrupt." The CEO coquettishly replied, "Ah, don't do that. If this continues, I won't have any friends. What's the point of being the richest man in the world?" There was also gossip that his first love, who he had loved for many years, had returned to the country. The CEO sneered internally, "TCH. She's just a green tea bitch, after my endless money, and craving my 8-pack abs." One morning during rush hour, I accidentally spilled half a cup of charcoal milk tea on the CEO Henry. My boss, Charlotte, rushed out and angrily scolded me, "Newbie, are you blind? The CEO's suit is custom made, worth at least a few $100,000. You, as an intern, want to bankrupt yourself?" I was shaking in fear. I thought to myself, even if I sold both of my healthy kidneys, I still couldn't afford to pay. But then, a deep, pleasant male voice reached my ear. "What's that smell? It's so fragrant. Is that brown liquid on my suit milk tea? Why does it smell like crispy rice?" He glanced at me coldly. "I really want to drink it. Where can I get some?" I wondered if I had heard him wrong. The tall, cold-faced man in front of me was actually interested in a milk tea that cost only 9.99 yuan. A man of his status usually drinks the most expensive cat poop coffee or bottles of Romani Conti worth hundreds of thousands, right? Charlotte, seeing me silent, grew even angrier. "Emily, are you stunned or just dumb? Can't you even apologize?" I rubbed my eyes. I confirmed that the CEO's tightly pursed lips hadn't opened. But just as I was thinking of resigning and apologizing, that voice spoke again. "If this girl has the sense to buy me a cup, I'll promote her to assistant to the CEO immediately." Was this a lucky break from the heavens? After all, whether I stood or fell, it didn't matter. Why not go all in? I braced myself and looked at Henry, carefully handing him the half-cup of charcoal milk tea. "CEO, my milk tea was disrespectful, so I'm offering the rest as compensation." Charlotte was dumbfounded, glaring at me with rage. "Emily, is your brain made of tofu? You messed up and now you're trying to shift the blame onto a cup of milk tea?" I knew this was absurd. But how would I know if I didn't try? The air was silent for 10 seconds. Just as Charlotte was about to reprimand me again, Henry calmly said, "It's normal for a new person to make mistakes. Give it to me." He reached out with his long fingers and took the cup, then brought it to his lips. I swear, judging from my rich experience of drinking milk tea, that was definitely a huge sip. Charlotte was stunned by the CEO's actions. "CEO Henry, these low-end drinks are beneath your dignity. You don't have to ruin your image just to protect an employee." Henry didn't respond. Instead, he turned his gaze back to me. "From now on, you'll be my personal assistant. During the probation period, you'll get a monthly salary starting from 5 digits, and your year-end bonus will be the equivalent of an extra year's salary." As expected of a domineering CEO, heae was ruthless, and his wealth even more so. Charlotte glared at me, unwilling to accept it. "CEO Henry, Emily is just a clumsy new hire, she's not qualified to stay by your side." Henry's expression was indifferent. "I don't need others telling me how to do things." His cold words made Charlotte panic and apologize. Just like that, the CEO walked ahead, holding a cup of cheap milk tea that didn't match his status. "Keep up." "Okay." I quickly hurried to catch up, and that pleasant voice spoke again. "Take a sip, and feel like all your troubles say goodbye, and all your happiness says hello." What kind of divine happiness drink is this? Looking at Henry's cold and aloof figure in his tailored suit, I nearly burst out laughing. When we arrived on the 66th floor, Henry stood by the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, arms crossed. Money is easy to come by, but status must match it. I stood nervously in place. I wondered what kind of difficult tasks he would assign me. He was silent for a moment, then looked at me seriously. Go to the finance department and pick up a bank card. I'll give you 300,000 a month. Starting tomorrow, you'll be responsible for buying me breakfast. You need to prepare at least 7 different drinks every day, and they must be different. I stood there stunned. 10,000 a day, is this how rich people eat golden breakfasts? Henry furrowed his brow. Is that too difficult? No, no. I quickly shook my head. I just wasn't sure if there were any special preferences. He sighed in relief. Nope. If you can't spend all the money, you can keep the extra as a bonus. I felt elated. That deep male voice appeared again. 7 types of drinks every day. Surely one of them will be milk tea, right? Charcoal roasted milk tea. It's really so delicious. Before, my family wouldn't let me eat this or that, saying small street foods were poison. I didn't expect the really fragrant rule to always be true. I tried hard to suppress my laughter. Turns out, the CEO was also a little pitiful. He had grown up in luxury but had never tasted the simplest joys of life. I picked up my bank card at the finance department, and my colleague stopped me. Emily, how did you become the CEO's assistant? Yeah, I heard CEO Henry has 7 assistants, each one a graduate from a top 5 global university, fluent in 7 languages. What is it about you that's so captivating? Let me guess. Did the CEO develop feelings for you? I twitched my lips. Could it be because of the milk tea I bought? Charlotte sneered. Emily, don't get ahead of yourself. CEO Henry has been in love with his first love for years. He's waited for her for 3 years. They're a perfect match, and Miss Grace is coming back to the country soon. You're just a toad, you should know your place. I was speechless. Before, Charlotte was my boss, but she would always dump all the overtime work on me and leave me to take the fall when something went wrong. People in the department had been frustrated with her for a long time. I couldn't help but retort, the CEO probably appreciates my self-awareness, which is why he promoted me. Unlike some people, who only do surface-level work and don't get anything done, despite being here for so many years and still haven't gotten a promotion. Seeing me drop some hard facts, Charlotte gave me a look as if she wanted to eat me alive. But she wasn't my boss anymore, and she couldn't do anything to me. She could only angrily count her wrinkles in place. The next morning, I set my alarm and went to buy breakfast. Out of breath, I arrived at the CEO's office. I put a latte, cappuccino, black tea, lemon tea, soy milk, and hot chocolate in front of Henry. His well-defined brows furrowed slightly. His inner monologue kicked in again. No way, the odds of winning are so low. Is this girl so clueless? Doesn't she realize what I like to drink? Boss, this is the milk tea I accidentally spilled on you yesterday. Just when Henry seemed discouraged, I pulled the last drink from my bag as if performing a magic trick. He took it without changing his expression. But that pleased voice exposed the childlike joy hidden in his heart. Yay, finally, I can drink it. And it's the big cup. This little girl really knows me. Her future is limitless. The CEO was so pitiful. A cup of milk tea made him this happy. No way. I had to introduce him to hot pot, chicken giblets, and stinky tofu. Maybe if he was happy enough, he'd give me a raise or a promotion. After a full day of work, I respectfully approached Henry. Boss, what would you like for dinner? Any suggestions? Here it comes, the CEO's inner monologue again. I'm used to eating all kinds of exotic delicacies like shark fin and abalone, but I really want to try something different. No problem, I got this. 10 minutes later, we arrived at the largest Rui mall in the city in a Maybach. I led Henry to a nearby night market. When he saw the bustling crowd, he paused for a moment. But in the end, still dressed in a high-end suit completely out of place for the environment, he walked around eating with me. Henry held a skewer of grilled lamb in one hand and a cup of milk tea in the other, eating elegantly and dignified. His inner monologue didn't stop. Once you've tasted the vast seas, grilled skewers just don't cut it. This moment, This is what they mean by life's fleeting, but with wine and meat, one becomes a little immortal. Watching him eat to his heart's content, I felt a sense of accomplishment like a mother watching her child eat with relish. As we were eating, Henry suddenly froze in place, and the air grew eerily quiet. "What's wrong?" I had a bad feeling. "It's nothing." He said it with his mouth, but sweat started beading on his forehead. "Oh no. I must have eaten too much, my stomach hurts. Is there a bathroom around here?" This is too private, as a CEO, it's not appropriate to ask. Suddenly, I understood, and quickly grabbed my stomach to act. Boss, my stomach really hurts. Can I use the bathroom first?" Henry maintained his cool demeanor. It's too crowded, we might get separated. I'll go with you. I see. I know exactly what he's thinking. When Henry entered the men's restroom, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. As a loyal and dutiful employee, of course, I stayed outside the restroom to make sure the boss didn't run out of toilet paper. Just then, Charlotte walked over with a woman in all designer clothes. It seemed they had just finished shopping. When Charlotte saw me, she immediately reported, "Miss Grace, this is the little tramp I told you about, always thinking about how to steal CEO Henry from us." Such a huge accusation. Miss Grace looked at me with disdain. "So, you're the new assistant Henry hired?" "I'm the woman he's waited for 3 years, and soon I'll be Mrs. Henry." "If you know what's good for you." Before she could finish, there was a sudden loud scream from the crowd. Looking in the direction of the sound, it turned out someone had gotten into a fight with a scalper over the last piece of chestnut cream cake. Miss Grace looked at them with contempt. "I can't believe these poor country folks, fighting over a piece of food like this. It's so undignified." Although this cake was limited to 50 pieces every day and only available during the chestnut season, I quietly drooled, thinking I had to introduce it to Henry. Miss Grace kept complaining to the bystanders, ready to keep firing. But at that moment, the CEO walked out, subtly patting his stomach. My stomach's settled, my intestines are happy. I almost burst out laughing, and I realized it was only when you were close enough that you could hear his inner thoughts. Miss Grace immediately changed her expression. "Henry, I remember you never liked shopping, why are you here?" Henry gave her a cold look. "I'm shopping in my own mall, what's the problem?" "Wow, no shame." Miss Grace's eyes filled with a touch of grievance. "Henry, it's been so long since we've met, don't you miss me?" After a moment, she added, "Be careful, I'll go tell your mom." Henry's eyelid twitched. He was clearly annoyed. Not again. Not again. This pretentious woman always uses my mom as an excuse. How annoying. Looking at the CEO, who seemed ready to snap but held back because of their relationship, I suddenly had a big realization. Could he be one of those mama's boys? Charlotte, completely clueless, approached with flattery. "CEO Henry and Miss Grace must have a lot to talk about. We'll just leave them alone and not be a third wheel." She forcefully tugged at the hem of my clothes. Miss Grace arrogantly stepped forward. "Henry, I found a Michelin-starred French restaurant upstairs. How about we go there for dinner?" "No thanks." Henry's whole body screamed rejection. "How boring. It's always caviar or foie gras." "Little girl, why aren't you stepping in to break up this awkwardness? Are you trying to get your salary docked?" I jolted, immediately pushed Charlotte aside, and hurriedly stepped forward. "CEO Henry, there are some documents in the company that need your urgent signature." "All right, let's go." As we were leaving, I saw a flash of anger in Miss Grace's eyes. Just as we got into the Maybach, Henry's phone rang. "Mom!" Wait, how could I hear his conversation? A voice, sharp and commanding like a school principal, came through. "Busy." "Henry, Grace just came back to the country. Why haven't you been dating her? Even the busiest person has to eat. Grace has liked you since she was a child. Now that she's back, she wants to settle the wedding plans so I can have grandchildren soon. I've told you many times, I don't want to marry her." Here we go again. There aren't many girls who are as well known and reliable as she is. I'm doing this for your own good. I've watched her grow up, and she's much more sensible than you. Mom. Alright, if you want me to live a few more years, you need to listen to me. The pressure of a mother's matchmaking request was always deadly. Henry's face turned a dark shade. Always reporting to the little blackboard, as expected of a green tea bitch among the fighter jets. This woman keeps whispering in my mom's ear. Looks like I'll have to take action soon. His eyes sharpened, and I shrank into the corner, too scared to make a sound. The constant pressure from his mother to get married kept the mood low for several days, and I was annoyed too. Colleagues who came to ask Henry for signatures were trembling in fear. What should I do? Even the charcoal milk tea didn't taste good anymore. Would he take back the 300,000 yuan meal allowance? Henry, dressed sharply in a suit, passed by me. I'm having top-grade tuna sashimi with clients for lunch. Cold, uncooked food just isn't my thing. Fall is here, I could really go for some roasted chestnuts. A light bulb went off in my head. Boss, would you like afternoon tea? There's a chestnut cake at the Rui Mall that's really delicious. I heard there's always a long line though. Henry raised an eyebrow and muttered to himself, not bad, a nap's just what I needed. I'll give this little girl a raise in a couple of days. I was ecstatic. Wait. The cold voice came from behind. I broke out in a cold sweat. Henry couldn't have figured out I was planning to slack off, right? Didn't give you money for afternoon tea? Consider it an extra allowance. Before I could react, 100,000 yuan arrived in my Alipay account. The path of paid relaxation was so sweet. But the cake shop was packed. With several 100,000 in my card, I gave 100 yuan to a scalper to queue up for me, then happily wandered around the mall. Left hand holding squid, right hand holding milk tea. One step, one bite, extra happiness. When I saw the claw machine, I couldn't resist, and changed a whole basket of coins. I didn't know if it was because I hadn't played in so long, but after a while, I couldn't catch a single stuffed toy. As I was busy, a voice came from behind. Is it fun? It's fun, but it feels like this machine is cheating. Wait, why does that voice sound so familiar? I turned around and nearly had a heart attack. Boss, where's my afternoon tea? Oh no, I'll ask the scalper. After getting the cake, I saw Henry standing in front of the claw machine, dazed. I really want to play, but my mom always told me not to waste time on childish things when I was young. Ugh, I'm just a child without a childhood. How miserable. Well, that's sad. I also thought the CEO was pitiful. I heard Henry's mom was a powerful woman, and before stepping down, she was very strict. She controlled his every move, from eating to what he wore. Horseback riding, golf, foreign language classes, everything was meticulously arranged, even his bathroom trips were timed down to the second. I suddenly had an idea. I took the remaining coins out of my pocket and handed them over. Henry frowned. What's this? Boss, can you help me recover some of my costs? You think I'm the type of person who'd play with these machines? I looked at him with a sweet tone. Please? Henry acted haughty on the surface but was secretly thrilled. Yay! This is going to be so much fun, I can't let this little girl see me fail. I quietly chuckled. The CEO was truly the CEO. He quickly grasped the trick of the claw machine. By the time we left the mall, we had dozens of colorful stuffed toys in our hands. We almost made the driver pass out. It seemed that playing with claw machines had unleashed Henry's inner child. Every time he saw me, he had a new idea. I really want to ride a roller coaster, the feeling of soaring through the air must be amazing. I really want to fly a kite and then break the string, letting the kite fly even farther. I really want to go to an arcade, and if I don't annihilate my opponent, I'm not going home. The ideas kept getting more ridiculous. The troubles couldn't even keep up. I sighed. I guess even the wealthiest people can have compensatory behaviors when their childhood was suppressed. A little over a month passed, and Henry went to work on time every day. But once the weekend came, he'd drag me out with him. Following the big boss, it was 3 days and 9 meals. It made my face rounder. That day, when Henry was on the phone, I brought him coffee in the office. I wasn't eavesdropping on purpose. But gossip just came knocking. What could I do? On the other end of the line, a lazy-sounding man's voice came through. Henry, I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but after neglecting Grace for a couple of months, shouldn't you forgive her for leaving you and going abroad? As a man, you should be more magnanimous. Henry's expression was colder than an iceberg. But his thoughts were a volcano waiting to erupt. What a big shot. You already slept with Grace and now you want her to have my son to inherit the family fortune. William, you and Grace are two of a kind, taking advantage of my mom's trust to do whatever you please. Just wait, I won't let you two off easy. What kind of shocking secret is this? Do they know they're going to be silenced? I was so scared I touched my neck, almost spilling my coffee. Henry cut the call and sat down, his face full of displeasure as he muttered, I'm in a bad mood, cheer me up. Big bro, how should I cheer you up? Should I tell you not to cry over the green hat your brother gifted you? Why not just cry to your mom? Henry's expression grew darker, as if a storm was about to hit. I had a sudden idea. Boss, Halloween is coming up. I heard there's a haunted house at the amusement park that's really fun. Are you interested? Henry loosened his meticulously tied tie. Yeah, we can go check it out, prepare for opening a theme park in the future. I felt excited inside. Wow, a haunted house. I've been looking forward to it, I want to go right now. This is too easy to please. Where did that cold, unflappable CEO go when negotiating? We arrived at the haunted house. Inside, it was set up like a general hospital, with a lot of fresh organs and dead bodies. I was terrified as soon as I walked in. The haunted house didn't even pay for promotion. Why did I have to bring Henry here? The key is, his courage is even smaller than mine. The special effects were so realistic, and many staff members were pretending to be zombies wandering around. I was panicking. After we entered, Henry held my hand tightly. He appeared calm on the outside. But inside. Wah, this is so scary, it's freaking out this CEO baby. What kind of Hollywood special effects are these? Is it really necessary to make it so realistic? I can't show weakness, or how will I maintain my image in front of this little girl? Big bro, your image is long gone. I was trying to overcome my fear while laughing hysterically. As our fingers were tightly interlocked, Henry's warm palm pressed against mine. My heart was racing uncontrollably. Zombies were everywhere, and the atmosphere was terrifying. I pulled Henry into a quick jog, twisting and turning until we found a dark emergency exit. It was quiet enough to hear his breathing. I wanted to peek outside, but Henry pushed me against the wall with a sudden move. Pressed against his broad chest, feeling his firm muscles, I got a sudden rush of hormones. The eerie footsteps were getting closer. I was so scared I wanted to scream, but then I heard his inner voice. Henry's deep gaze was fixed on me. My mind was racing. What do? I suddenly want to kiss her. What kind of wolfish thought is this? I blushed and my earlobes tingled. I wasn't even afraid of the ghosts anymore. Henry's face came closer. I licked my lips. Then I remembered I had just eaten garlic and cheese toast. Oh no. The next second, a warm kiss landed on my palm. The person opposite quickly pulled away. As we left the haunted house, Henry's face was tense, his voice cold. Follow me. Okay. Weird, why does he have no reaction now? I tugged at my reddened ears, regretting why I had blocked the kiss. Sigh, being reserved doesn't fill the stomach. What if I upset the big boss? Where can I find a high-paying, low-stress job with plenty of downtime? While walking, I almost tripped. Henry turned around and gave me a sharp glare. I was about to say something, but his phone rang. What's going on? Why can't I hear anything on the other end? Even Henry's inner thoughts are gone. How am I supposed to guess the big boss's thoughts now? All the way, Henry stayed silent, and I had no idea where we were going. When we finally stopped, the car was in front of a bar. The place was full of flashing lights and loud music. Grace was laughing with a man next to her. She looked directly at Henry. You finally came to see me. Henry didn't respond, just sat at the main seat. As his assistant, I felt awkward wherever I stood, so I had no choice but to stand there like a fool. A man reeked of alcohol and came up to me, sniffing aggressively. "Where did this little flower come from? Smells so good." I stiffened, sensing this guy wasn't right. Grace gave me a sideways glance, her tone more sour than kimchi. "This is Emily, always sticking close to Henry wherever he goes." The man grinned maliciously. "Henry, wildflowers can't compare to cultivated ones. This shameless little thing, she's not even close to Grace's level. I know you're mad because she left for 3 years, but now she's back. Listen to your mom and hurry up and get married." I glanced at the man. He had a gold chain around his neck and looked like a nouveau riche, exuding a vibe of decadence. Henry remained motionless. The man gave a fake laugh and started stirring up trouble. After a few drinks, he started, "Come on, it's only natural for a subordinate to block drinks for the boss. Emily can't just stand there." He shoved a glass of liquor at me. I felt uneasy, and instinctively kicked him. The man yelped in pain. Grace smirked and mocked. "William, looks like she doesn't want to give you face." "William? Isn't he the guy who gave the boss the green hat?" I looked toward the main seat, and saw Henry expressionlessly drinking. William was furious. He reached for the Hennessy on the table. He was planning to pour the whole bottle into my mouth. Of course, I refused to comply. He sneered, "Still a virgin lady, huh?" Henry stood up, his voice chilling. "William, that's enough. Henry, don't rush to play the hero." William grinned maliciously, and with great force, quickly shoved the whole bottle into my mouth, pouring it down. His other hand was all over the place. "Stop!" I heard Henry's voice, powerful and imposing. But Grace stepped forward to block him. I was choking on the alcohol, desperately trying to scream, "Pervert! This is too much." I couldn't care less about whether I could afford to pay for the tens of thousands of dollars of wine. I pushed William hard and grabbed the bottle to smash it on his head. William touched the back of his head, and thick blood started pouring out. He was furious and, in a fit of rage, grabbed my neck. "Looking for death? What a jerk!" I could barely breathe as he choked me. Henry's voice turned sharp as he stepped forward and landed a punch on William. William gritted his teeth in pain and had no choice but to release his grip on my neck, acting as though he was about to fight Henry. Several bodyguards in black suits rushed in. William sneered, "Henry, for a trivial woman like her, you're really going to break our 20-year brotherhood?" Henry didn't say a word, but inside, he was fuming. "Anyone who dares to lay a hand on me is lucky to walk away with their head still attached." "Sigh, the CEO is so formidable." Henry asked, "Are you all right?" I shook my head, just a bit dizzy. He pulled me into his arms, exuding the aura of someone in control, and calmly ordered the bodyguards, "Open a new bottle of high-proof liquor and make sure he drinks it all before sending him to the hospital." Then, ignoring Grace's yelling behind us, he led me to the car. On the way, I was filled with worry. The rich playboy, will he sue me for intentionally injuring him? And that ridiculously expensive bottle of wine, there's no way I could afford to pay for it. My head was throbbing in despair. I glanced at the car window and saw Henry's cold, piercing gaze fixed on the back of my head. Sigh. Why can't I hear his thoughts? The unpredictable CEO looks so fierce and terrifying right now. I vaguely felt Henry stretch his arm forward. Could he be thinking of squeezing my skull? I was scared and tightly closed my eyes. But, I had just been forced to drink quite a lot of alcohol. I tried to fake it, but soon I fell into a deep sleep. I'm not sure how much time passed, but when I turned over, I groggily saw a figure lying beside me. In the dim moonlight, I could just make out Henry's sculpted, flawless features. Did I just share a bed with the CEO? This must be a dream, right? My heart raced uncontrollably. I crawled forward like a little worm, getting closer and closer until we were almost touching. My fingers traced along his sharp eyebrow ridge and followed the line of his nose. When I reached his thin lips, my whole body seemed to get an electric shock. I shyly covered my face, but I couldn't help reminding myself. Earlier in the haunted house, he wanted to kiss me. Now in this dream, what's there to hesitate about? At least there won't be any garlic-flavored kisses. I lunged forward. The sensation was so soft, so real. Suddenly, Henry's eyes snapped open. His voice was hoarse, still carrying the scent of alcohol. "So now you're willing to kiss me, huh?" I was stunned. I didn't know how to respond. He wasn't polite at all. He flipped me over and pinned me down, kissing me like a woodpecker, leaving dozens of kisses all over. I was stunned by the sweetness, then fell into a deep sleep again. When I woke up, Henry had just finished his shower. The well-defined muscles of his body were right in front of me. Awake. "Oh my God, can you really see this for free?" I panicked and hid under the blanket. His cold fingers tugged at the blanket. "You drank too much last night and didn't know where you lived, so I had no choice but to bring you back." "Oh. I've written it down in the staff directory." I lowered my head to look at my clothes, still fully intact. I wasn't sure whether I felt disappointed or relieved. Henry's face had a tinge of red. "This girl's hiding under the blanket. Did I do something wrong?" We kissed, but why does she seem like she doesn't want to take responsibility? Huh? The voice in his mind returned. I glanced at the time. Does that mean if I didn't kiss him, his thoughts would disappear for 24 hours? My face turned red. So it wasn't a dream. But how am I supposed to take responsibility? I can't afford to keep a CEO who spends hundreds of thousands every month just to eat. Well, dreams are still important. Otherwise, the next time we get drunk, I'll have no idea what to talk about. Silence spread. He kept staring at me. I felt increasingly nervous. A freshly woken girl's face is so tender and soft. I want to bite it. What should I do? Can someone teach me how to confess? She wouldn't let me kiss her in the haunted house. How do I handle rejection if she says no? I'm a CEO, after all. My body was getting hotter. I couldn't imagine that the boss really liked me. Henry said calmly, "Are you hungry? Get up and have something to eat." But as he watched me eat spaghetti, his head was practically bursting with pink bubbles. Wow, she's so cute when her cheeks puff up while eating. Thinking about how I finally got her first kiss last night makes me so happy. He couldn't stop grinning. I almost choked on the pasta. My heart was racing. The next day, I woke up in my rental apartment. The landlord was shouting that the house had been sold and that I had to move out immediately. I was devastated. Actually, I have my own house, left by my grandfather. My parents passed away early. I lived with my grandfather, who loved painting. He was a restless old man, always running off to places with good scenery, then coming back to paint and selling his work for a lot of money. Unfortunately, he's no longer with me. The house is out in the suburbs, far from the company. It'll be difficult to find a new place to move right away. I angrily went downstairs. The landlord kept following me, nagging. He was more active than when he came to collect rent. When I reached the ground floor, I saw Henry leaning against a Maybach. "Boss," I was startled. He looked calm. "Don't misunderstand, I was passing by and thought you'd be late, so I came to pick you up." But the CEO's little heart had shattered into pieces. Huh? Didn't the internet say that girls like surprises? Why does the little girl look like she's scared instead? I was so sweet thinking about her last night that the bed almost collapsed under my 2.8-meter frame. Ah. Does the boss really like me? He's tall, handsome, and rich, so it's hard not to be attracted to him. But if a guy doesn't take the first step, do we need to confess first? Sigh, I've never been in a relationship. I'm too scared to take the first step. The atmosphere in the car was a little off, and the driver was sweating cold bullets. Finally, we arrived at the underground parking garage. Two colleagues quickly let go of their intertwined hands. Their faces were pale as they tried to explain, "Boss, we didn't break any company rules by dating. Love makes you lose your IQ." Such silly pigs giving themselves away. Henry gave them a cold nod, but inside, he was thinking, this couple is so sweet. I'm all in on this. Should I consider giving them a raise as a blessing? Damn it. I need to get rid of the stupid rules my mom set up soon. I stuck my tongue out. Looks like the CEO is really afraid of his mom. I went downstairs to pick up the takeout when Charlotte intercepted me halfway. Emily, you've grown some guts. You actually dared to smash a bottle on the heir of the William family. They're planning to hire the best lawyer to sue you. I pursed my lips. He attacked me first, I was just defending myself. Heae, the whole place was filled with William's people, who's going to prove your side? And what about CEO Henry? Do you know that our company has many dealings with the William family? You smash a bottle like that, and countless business deals will go down the drain. My heart sank. Even the freshly delivered taro bubble milk tea didn't taste good anymore. When I arrived at the CEO's office, Henry noticed my low spirits and asked what was wrong. I quietly asked, "Will what happened last night affect the company's business?" He was about to speak when the office phone rang. A woman's voice, sharp and scolding like a principal, came from the other end. "Henry, does turning off your phone solve the problem? People who can't control their emotions are no different from animals." The words already spread, and now they're saying you hurt William for your secretary. Didn't I teach you anything growing up? Can't you tell the difference between a serious matter and a small one? Also, the marriage with Grace can't be delayed any longer. Don't make me wait too long to hold a grandchild. Henry's face turned as dark as a thundercloud. I didn't know how to comfort him, so I just suggested, "Boss, there's nothing that can't be set down except for chopsticks." Henry's expression lightened a bit. "Didn't expect you, little girl, to understand so much about life philosophy. But what should I do about my mom constantly pressuring me to get married? I'm so tired." He glanced at me and inexplicably blushed. "Emily, did the landlord kick you out?" "Ah? Yes." So he had noticed. "Do you want to become rich overnight and buy a villa?" "Of course I do. I'll give you 50 million. Be my girlfriend and help me deal with my mom's pressure." My mind exploded. The person on the phone earlier seemed to want the boss to hurry up and have kids. But when I thought of Henry coming out of the shower, I secretly swallowed. Maybe it's not such a bad idea after all. "You don't want to?" Seeing that I didn't answer, Henry furrowed his brows. "Did Miss Emily see through that I really want to date her? Or was the way I threw money at you too crude and scared you off? But besides money, I have nothing else. It's really tough." Sigh. "As expected of you, the King of Versailles. Who could refuse a handsome guy and a huge fortune?" I quickly nodded. Henry let out a sigh of relief and sent the money over without further ado. "Take 2 million for now. The rest is in your bank account." Looking at the balance in my Alipay account, I felt like I was in a dream. Henry was even more excited than I was. Help. Turns out spending money really works. Amazing. This is definitely a day worth celebrating with 10 cups of charcoal milk tea. She agreed to pretend to be my girlfriend, and now, the day when it becomes real can't be far away. Henry's first task for his girlfriend was to attend the birthday party of an elder in grand attire. But since he had an international conference to attend, I had to go alone. Not long after I arrived, Grace appeared wearing a designer outfit, with Charlotte, the sycophant, following her. Henry had told me before that Charlotte was Grace's relative and got into the company with his mother's approval. No wonder she was so arrogant. When she saw me trying on clothes in the luxury store, Charlotte stormed over. "Emily, how dare you wander around during work hours?" "Same to you," I replied. Grace's tone dripped with sarcasm. "With what you earn each month, you can't even afford a belt, right?" I blinked. Pfft. Does she think I'm going to announce to the world that I got rich overnight? Charlotte took the opportunity to put Grace down. "I heard that CEO Henry just ordered a dress worth hundreds of thousands from Paris for you." "Yes, he did. But don't think just because you're next to a swan, you can get some meat too." Grace scoffed, looking down on me. She then, kindly, reminded the sales assistant. "You should be careful with your customers. This one's poor and can't afford to pay if she damages the clothes." The sales assistant smiled politely. "I'm sorry, this lady just made a payment of 688,000 renminbi. I smiled sweetly at Grace. She was fuming. "How is that possible? Where did your money come from?" I shrugged. I couldn't tell her it was Henry who forced me to spend 1 million in one day, could I? Grace stomped her feet in frustration. I noticed something right away. Her shoes looked like counterfeit goods. How strange. Isn't she always boasting about being a high society lady? Why is she wearing fake stuff? Before Charlotte could step in again, the sales assistant, still smiling, brought over a gorgeous dress for sizing. Miss Emily, this is our store's signature piece. As requested by Mr. Henry, we've expedited the alterations for you. Grace was so angry her face turned purple. You bitch. What kind of poison did you feed Henry? I looked at her innocently. Nothing at all. Even if I did, it would only be a cup of charcoal milk tea. Charlotte, sensing Grace's anger, tried to snatch the dress from the assistant's hands and shouted loudly, Emily, go look in the mirror. People like you don't deserve to wear this kind of high-end product. I ignored her and smiled at the sales assistant, pointing at Grace's shoes. Miss, I just tried on the same pair of shoes Grace is wearing and noticed that the bow is misaligned. Is your quality control really up to standard? Since I was trained by my grandfather to draw as a child, I didn't inherit his talent, but I had great observation skills. The sales assistant crouched down to inspect the shoes and stopped smiling. Grace suddenly looked nervous. What are you staring at? I'm a VIP at your store. The sales assistant replied solemnly. Although your shoe style and color are similar to our brand, based on my years of experience, I don't believe they are authentic. You should take them to a professional authentication center, just in case you're buying counterfeit items again. Charlotte interrupted. That's impossible. Our Grace family has plenty of money. We don't need to wear fakes. It must be. I chuckled. Her ability to twist the truth was truly impressive. The sales assistant remained respectful. If you don't believe me, you can take them to an authentication center to avoid buying fake items in the future. The assistant was being polite, but Grace, for some reason, pushed her away and, furious, yelled at me, Emily, just you wait. I didn't take Grace's words to heart. I was just curious. Why would someone who always bragged about being a socialite wear counterfeit goods? Henry brought me to an elegant, ancient manor. There were luxury cars parked all around the entrance. In the living room, an elderly man with snow-white hair, yet still full of energy, was surrounded by a group of people. It looked like he was an important figure. As soon as he saw Henry, he smiled and waved. Henry, it's been a long time since you've come to play chess with me. Henry stepped forward and handed an antique brocade box to the elderly man. John, this is a birthday gift for you. The elderly man laughed heartily. Ha ha ha, you really understand me. The box looked very expensive, and I couldn't help but wonder what was inside. Soon, William and Grace appeared. Grace eagerly looked at Henry. When she didn't get any reaction, she angrily stood next to William, puffing out her chest like a disgruntled peacock. One by one, the guests presented extravagant gifts. To show off his wealth, William waited until the last moment to present a golden peach made entirely of gold in front of John. Everyone gasped. William is so generous, this peach must weigh dozens of pounds in gold. This is nothing. John has a very high status in the circle. If you can build a good relationship with him, that's the key to everything, connections, wealth, you name it. Grace, eager to make William look good, sweetly said, Grandfather John, William specially hired the best craftsman to make this gift. John smiled faintly, thoughtful. William slapped Henry on the shoulder and shouted, Little brother, what did you bring? Henry had no expression on his face, but in his mind, he scoffed, Get your filthy hand off me, don't touch me. Receiving the signal from the sugar daddy, I immediately transformed into an onlooker, stepping between the two of them to separate them. As soon as William saw me, his teeth clenched in anger. Damn woman, didn't the lawyer's letter reach you? How dare you appear in front of me? People nearby noticed the commotion and turned their attention towards us. I smiled slightly. William, suing me is no big deal, after all, CEO Henry will handle it for me. But I have a lot of evidence of you groping women. Would you like me to release it for everyone to see? Since Charlotte had threatened me, I asked my friend Daniel to dig into William's past. Daniel, a few years older than me and my grandfather's honorary disciple, was really good with computers. He found out that William frequented nightclubs and had groped many girls. Those girls were too afraid of William's threats to speak out. Normally, William wouldn't care, but the guests here were all either rich or powerful people. If his reputation was ruined, it would be hard to recover. William was furious. Grace, trying to smooth things over, loudly asked to see what Henry had brought. Everyone was already curious about Henry's gift, and now their interest grew even more. John, not hiding anything, said, "Let me tell you, although Henry and I are decades apart in age, we have similar tastes. As you all know, I am fond of Chinese painting, and I have many collections at home. Today, Henry has brought me a painting titled Pine Tree and Eagle." John carefully unfurled the painting. In the painting, a majestic eagle stood proudly atop a pine tree, exuding an air of dignity and grace. But it looked familiar. I wanted to get closer for a better look when Grace grabbed my arm. "Don't bother, mountain pigs can't appreciate fine grain. You're not qualified to look," John announced, and everyone who could understand praised the painting. He cleared his throat. "I see William is trying to steal the spotlight." William was clearly annoyed. "John, I also have a fine painting in my car. Let me bring it in for you to admire. If you like it, I can give it to you, no matter the price." This guy was boasting again. Some guests complimented him for his wealth, while others mocked him for trying to appear cultured. Henry stood quietly to the side, like the quiet observer. Internally, he was rolling his eyes. "Here we go again. This guy's been trying to compete with me since we were kids. He's always been like this. His dad and my mom are so close, our families have been cooperating in many fields, and it's hard to get rid of him." Got it. It was one of those clingy, hard to shake off relationships. I silently mourned for the CEO for 3 seconds. Soon, William presented his painting to the crowd. "This painting, just like the one Henry brought, is by the late artist Cameron." As soon as Cameron was mentioned, John's old eyes showed a flicker of emotion. I was even more surprised. Wasn't this my grandfather's pen name when he painted in his spare time? Just as I was wondering, John excitedly walked forward to examine the painting. "This painting truly captures the hard work and rest of a rural laborer, a rare artistic treasure. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of Cameron's rare masterpieces from the last 10 years. He once said that the painting was purely for his own enjoyment, and he would only give it to a person of destiny." I was stunned. This unorthodox style of working did indeed resemble my old mischievous grandfather. John suppressed his excitement and asked William where he had obtained Cameron's painting. With all eyes on him, William proudly replied, "To be honest, Cameron was a recluse, very few people met him. However, by chance, I met his granddaughter, and after we hit it off, she gave me this painting as a gift." Ah! My curiosity was piqued. I squeezed through the crowd and finally got a clear look at the painting that made William so smug. Well, it really was my grandfather's work. The signature was exactly the same. But why was this painting here? It was still hanging in his study at home. Was it photographed by a guest who came to look at the paintings? Could it have been stolen? In my eyes, my grandfather was no great artist. He was just an old man who loved to eat, play, and wander around. He didn't use a smartphone, didn't use a computer, and there was no internet in his house. He lived simply, embracing the return to nature philosophy. In the past, he liked to take me to the countryside. One year, when we passed by a wheat field, a group of farmers had just finished harvesting and were eating lunch in the field. Grandpa, being a sociable man, went up to chat with them. After having a bit to drink, he made a quick sketch. I still remember, early one morning, eating a tea egg and teasing him. He laughed and said, "Heae, staying up late isn't just for young people. Just wait, this painting will shock everyone. Grandpa, you've been awake all night. Are you feeling better than the younger ones?" That old fool, boasting without any proof. I didn't believe him. If Grandpa's paintings could sell for a lot, would I have had to work part-time to pay for college? Rolling my eyes, I touched the painting with my hand that had just peeled a tea egg, accidentally leaving a faint fingerprint. Grandpa got so angry, he made me mop the floor for 3 days straight. My little back almost broke. Thinking of Grandpa, my eyes felt sore and heavy. But then, a thought crossed my mind. Wait a minute. I didn't see that prominent fingerprint on William's painting. I cast a cold glance at him. This guy was still bragging about how familiar he was with Cameron's granddaughter. I almost wanted to hit him again. Fuming, I couldn't help but shout, "This painting is a fake." William's face stiffened for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "You have no evidence, what nonsense are you talking about? Everyone, don't listen to her. She's just a small secretary around Henry, her words don't count." I was so angry. Then I remembered how Grandpa's signature always had an extra stroke that I added, and a brilliant idea struck me. I walked up to John. "Mr. John, could I take a look at Pine Tree and Eagle?" John glanced at Henry, then nodded. I pointed out the differences between the two paintings, right at the signature. The expressions of the guests changed. Although the differences weren't glaring, if you looked closely, you could definitely tell. William refused to admit it. "What do you know? Maybe Henry's painting is the fake." "Oh, so stubborn, huh?" I sneered. "Well, since Mr. William keeps claiming he's so familiar with Cameron's granddaughter, how about we ask her to testify?" William started to sweat. "Cameron's granddaughter is very busy and low profile. She doesn't have time to appear for your unfounded accusations." I turned to John. "Mr. John, have you ever met Cameron in person?" "Yes. 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to receive an invitation to his home, and he even gave me a genuine painting." 2 years ago? That should have been when I was in college. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos of me and Grandpa, along with pictures of the study filled with calligraphy and paintings, showing them to John. John's pupils widened in shock. But he didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he turned to the guests. "Everyone, I can now confirm that William's painting is a fake." William tried to explain, but John waved him off. "William, I appreciate your gesture, but you should look into who deceived you. And as for the golden peach, it's too valuable, I won't accept it." His words were rather sharp. It was clear he didn't want to associate with someone so eager to use his status to get attention. William left in a huff. Grace, seeing that Henry wasn't paying attention to her, quickly chased after him. John warmly pulled me aside and expressed how much he admired Grandpa. Mr. Cameron always said his most beloved person was his granddaughter. I never expected to meet her in my lifetime. Before leaving, he even invited me to visit often. Once we were in the car, Henry glanced at me briefly, still in shock. "Wait, hold on. The little girl is actually Cameron's granddaughter. Will my usual tactic of throwing money at her work in the future? It better work." I suddenly panicked. If Henry thought I was some hidden little rich girl and decided to pull back the money, then all my efforts would have been for nothing. Cough, cough. I really should explain. I had no idea my grandpa was the Cameron you're talking about. He lived very frugally and rarely sold his paintings. When I was younger, I even thought his paintings couldn't sell because they were so bad. Don't believe me? Back when I was in college, I had to work part-time to buy skincare products. Henry looked a little shocked. "Why?" "I'm not sure. I just heard that my dad was a spendthrift when he was young. Maybe Grandpa didn't want me to know we were wealthy and wanted me to avoid following my dad's footsteps." He sank into thought. "No wonder this little girl is so grounded, willing to eat stinky tofu and snail noodles. Unlike me, I've only ever drunk Evian and eaten caviar. My life has been so uninteresting. Hey, can we stop with the humble bragging?" Before we got out of the car, Henry looked at me with a somewhat sorrowful expression. "Actually, your grandfather really loved you. A few weeks before his passing, I finally got in touch with him, and for the first time, he sold me a few of his paintings. At that time, he kept saying he wanted to leave some dowry for his precious granddaughter." I immediately burst into tears. Sob. So, where is the dowry, Grandpa? Before I could ask Daniel about the dowry, Henry's mom had someone bring me to the hillside villa. When I met her for the first time, I was quite shocked. I had expected Emma, who even Henry feared, to be very dominant. But I only guessed half right. Henry's mother sat in a wheelchair, wearing the same kind of glasses blind people use. Grace arrogantly pushed her in front of me. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. Grace leaned in and whispered into Emma's ear, "Aunt Emma, Emily is here. She's wearing a black lace dress, with heavy makeup, looking like a fairy." I glanced at my t-shirt and jeans, stunned by Grace's audacity and lying. Henry's mom furrowed her brows. "I hate flamboyant women, they only cause men to change their hearts. You, on the other hand, are obedient and thoughtful. You've been raised as a proper lady." I took note of Grace's outfit. She had deliberately turned her trashy waves into innocent, long black straight hair. Her usual low-cut dresses had been swapped for a long, elegant gown. Grace continued her verbal attack. "Last time, didn't you have someone order a dress for me in Paris? Emily found out, and then Henry spoiled her by buying her tens of thousands of dollars worth of clothes." Henry's mom's face grew darker. In a fit of anger, she threw a nearby glass onto the ground. Then she hysterically snapped at me, "You shameless woman who only spends men's money. I warn you, as long as I'm alive, don't even think about entering the Henry family's door." Grace sneered. Finally, I understood what it meant to be the fox borrowing the tiger's power. The strange part was, why did Henry's mom trust her so much? The housekeeper nervously came forward to clean up the broken glass. I grabbed her hand and loudly asked, "Tell me, what am I wearing right now?" The housekeeper was startled and quickly looked at Grace. The latter was giving her a subtle signal to keep quiet. Something was off between the two of them. I seized the opportunity to shout at Henry's mother, "I'm clearly wearing jeans and a t-shirt. They've teamed up to deceive you. Emma, don't believe Grace, she's not a good person. They might even clean out your house while you're too foolishly counting the money for her." Grace was so angry she nearly exploded. Before Henry's mom could react, Grace pounced at me like a bird of prey, trying to cover my mouth. Luckily, I was quick on my feet. I swiftly ran to Henry's mom and placed her hand on my clothes. "Auntie, can you feel it? The sensation of a lace camisole and cotton t-shirt is completely different." Henry's mom's expression was complicated. "Grace, what's going on here? Emma, don't listen to her nonsense. Emily always dresses like a slut. I'm just trying to warn you." Grace, I believe you wouldn't deceive me." I was stunned. Had Grace put a spell on Henry's mom? She seemed to have complete control over her. I ignored them and continued shouting, "Auntie, it's fine if your eyes are blind, but the key is not to be blind at heart." Just then, Henry appeared. Grace was fuming, her face livid, and gave the housekeeper a vicious glare, signaling her to restrain me. He quickly stepped in front of me. "Mom, why did you bring Miss Emily here?" "Humph. Don't think I don't know you've secretly spent 50 million. I just wanted to see how far you'd go down this path." I was dumbfounded. How come the CEO's money seemed both his and not his at the same time? Henry froze for a moment. "Mom, since the company is under my management, what's the point of constantly having someone spy on me? If you don't keep a closer eye, I'm afraid all the hard work I've put into this empire will go to waste." Henry's mom was panting heavily. Henry remained silent. "This is enough. Every time I don't compromise, you threaten me with your heart condition." He didn't want to stay any longer and grabbed my hand to leave. Seeing Henry in a bad mood, I kindly suggested, "There's nothing a hot pot can't fix. And if there is, then 2 hot pots will do." We arrived at a lively hot pot restaurant. I ordered everything in one go: yellow throat, duck intestines, beef tripe, pig kidneys, and braised pork intestines. Henry looked confused and slightly troubled. "So many animal innards, that's terrifying. The entire pot is full of spicy oil. After eating this, will I still be able to smile?" I couldn't help but laugh. I picked up a piece of tender beef and placed it in his bowl. "Try it." Henry reluctantly placed it in his mouth. and his eyes immediately lit up. His inner thoughts brightened as well. What is this divine taste? The beef balls are so chewy, the yellow throat is so refreshing, and the duck intestines are so bouncy. Wow, this is amazing. Seeing his lips turn red from the spice, I called for a round of beer. After finishing the hot pot, I rubbed my bloated stomach and walked with him to the seaside to get some fresh air. I couldn't help but be curious. Why did Emma seem to trust Grace so much? Henry was still in a low mood, and he ended up talking more than usual. It turned out that Henry's mom came from a very poor family. She believed she had grown strong thanks to the support of Grace's mom and William's dad, who had accompanied her since childhood. She had a great business sense, and with a bold, relentless attitude, she became a small wealthy woman at a young age. In order to help her two friends, Henry's mom invested in starting a company for William's dad and made Grace's mom the owner of a beauty salon. Although neither of them was particularly capable, whenever trouble arose, she was always willing to help with everything she had. Then Henry's dad appeared. He thought William's dad and Grace's mom were too shrewd. Relying on their childhood ties, they had latched onto Henry's mom, sucking her dry and taking advantage of her generosity. The money had long since turned their friendship into something else. William's dad and Grace's mom were not happy with this. They manipulated Henry's mom. They told her that since her husband was incapable, he was trying to take her wealth for himself. Before long, William's dad found evidence of Henry's dad's infidelity. Henry's mom, feeling insecure, didn't know how to handle intimate relationships. Her balance of trust began to shift toward her childhood friends. No matter how her husband explained, it was all in vain. With Grace's mom's manipulation, Henry's mom decided to divorce and took custody of Henry. Henry's dad left for abroad in disappointment, never to return. After that, Henry's mom became even more distrustful of men, believing that making money was the only reliable thing. She focused all her energy on her business, and entrusted Henry to Grace's mom. Grace's mom was vain and greedy, and she believed anything foreign was superior. She encouraged Henry's mom to enroll Henry in expensive gentlemen's training courses, teaching him to live like an upper-class person. Food had to be imported, and common people's food was strictly forbidden. The items had to be top quality, the more expensive, the better. In reality, this was just Grace's mom's way of making a profit by reselling at a markup from her good friend. Henry, tired of the tight control, started to rebel. Grace's mom would then tell him that he resembled his father and that he would inherit his scoundrel nature. She placed many unfounded accusations on Henry, which caused Henry's mom to love him and hate him at the same time. Whenever he disagreed, she thought he was challenging her authority. When Henry became an adult, Henry's mom was involved in a serious car accident. She lost a leg and her eyes were damaged beyond repair in the explosion. Grace's mom repeatedly claimed that she had sacrificed her beauty salon to care for her best friend. Henry's mom was deeply touched and had the finances send her a large sum of money. This made her psychologically even more reliant on Grace's mom. Henry later investigated and found out that Grace's mom wasn't actually good at business. She had been losing money for years, trying to exploit her best friend's resources to patch things up. Encouraged by Grace's mom, Henry's mom began to pressure Henry into marrying Grace. But compared to cold and indifferent Henry, Grace preferred the slick and smooth-talking William. She constantly flattered Henry's mom, just to get expensive gifts. 3 years ago, after sleeping with William, Grace went abroad under the pretense of studying. When she returned, she found that the William family's business had fallen on hard times. But Henry quietly cleaned up the company's operations and steadily took control of the empire. But Grace was hopelessly infatuated with William. Even though she was coaxed into marrying Henry and using the Henry family to help William's family recover, she was more than happy to do so. Too absurd. Why didn't you tell your mom? I was stunned and speechless. My mom only trusts her 2 childhood friends, and doesn't trust anyone else, not even me or Dad. When she gave birth to me, she almost died from excessive bleeding. Grace's mom had a master check it out and said it was due to a clash of fates between mother and son, so she became even more cautious with me. Then why didn't she let Dad take you away? Because my mom didn't want to go through the same near-death experience again. Speechless. The night breeze was soft. Henry's voice was calm. When he was 6, he was afraid of thunderstorms and wanted to sleep with his mother. She coldly told him to go back to his own room, saying that a man should be tougher. At 9, Henry made a gift for his mother with his own hands. She didn't even look at it, just threw it into the trash and scolded him for being distracted by trivial things. But when she turned around, she was surrounded by Grace and William's flattery, happily cutting a cake and handing out big red envelopes to them. When he was 16, Henry stayed late at school to discuss homework with a girl, and Grace tattled on him. His mother harshly slapped him and scolded him, saying he must never be like his father and that he should never learn to chase girls at such a young age. For a long time, Henry didn't dare to confess his feelings or date anyone. I felt a pang in my heart. As her biological son, not only did he not receive his mother's love, but he was also treated unfairly at every turn. No matter how well he did things, he was always met with scolding and lack of recognition. No wonder people say that those with an unhappy childhood need a lifetime to heal. I couldn't help but ask, but you're in charge of the Henry group now, and you still can't handle your own mother? She's planted many spies in the company. Any small movement will be reported back to her. William tricked my mom into signing many long-term contracts, and now we have to pay huge penalties if we breach them. How tragic. Do such parents really exist in this world? They always push their own children aside. In that moment, I no longer saw Henry as the powerful CEO, but as a child abandoned in a lonely corner, with no childhood and no love from his parents. No wonder a simple cup of milk tea could lift his spirits so high. In the midst of this emotional turmoil, some erratic thoughts bubbled up. So, am I free to be your girlfriend now? Love is so sweet, so sweet. From now on, I, the CEO, officially announce that I'm saying goodbye to my miserable single life. After voicing my thoughts, our relationship advanced by leaps and bounds. However, I pulled on Henry's sleeve and pouted, "The cost of our contract girlfriend arrangement, I'm not paying you back." He replied, but his mind was already silently planning, "We'd better settle on this first, at least 50 kisses a day, 100 hugs. Girls' bodies are so soft, once I hug her, I don't want to let go. Every day I just want to stay close." Damn. What a ruthless capitalist who wouldn't even allow the slightest loss. Finding a new house wasn't easy, so I moved into Henry's apartment. I shyly stayed in the guest room. That day, Henry was going to a high-end Japanese restaurant to meet a client and asked me to head back first. Passing by a nearby night market, I remembered that he didn't like raw fish, so I decided to buy some grilled skewers for a late-night snack. As I passed through a dimly lit area, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickened my pace. To my dismay, the footsteps also sped up. I was terrified and immediately sent Henry my location. Just then, the person behind me lunged forward. It was William. He reeked of alcohol, slammed his phone on the ground, and dragged me forcefully toward a corner. "Help!" But the street was empty, with no one in sight. William grabbed my neck with intense force, his eyes wild with rage. "You bitch. Henry set me up and ruined me just because of you. Fine, let's die together. If I die, you won't have it easy either." His grip was so strong, I could hardly escape. I didn't know how long it had been when the screech of brakes sounded from a distance. Seizing the opportunity, I bit his wrist hard. The bastard winced in pain, quickly letting go of my neck, but I kicked him hard in the lower body. While he stood frozen, stomping in pain, I ran desperately toward a more populated area. But I had already exhausted too much energy, and I stumbled and fell. Just as William was about to catch up and strike again, Henry arrived in time. He pummeled William like a punching bag, beating him senseless, before dragging him to the police station. After making the report, William, still heavily drunk, almost assaulted an officer. Henry refused to make peace, calling his top lawyer to say that he wanted to teach William a harsh lesson. When we returned to the apartment building, I was about to get out of the car, but Henry beat me to it and came around to hug me. Nestled in his strong chest, I felt a little shy to look up. His eyes were slightly lowered, his nose straight, and he exuded an effortlessly handsome and charming aura. In a moment of impulsive warmth, I called out, "Hubby." He seemed incredulous. "What did you just call me?" I panicked and quickly corrected myself. "Boss. That's not right, the way you said it didn't sound like that." I playfully punched his chest and pouted. "That's what I said. Do you want to dock my pay?" No. Blood can flow, heads can be chopped, but salary settlements cannot be messed with. In order to live freely like a salted fish, I had no choice but to submit under the coin-operated influence of my sugar daddy. "Hubby." He seemed nonchalant, gently placing me on the living room couch, but his mind was racing with excitement. Oh my God. She called me hubby. I'm so excited I could go to the moon. Can I offer her more money so she'll keep calling me hubby every day, hugging me all the time? I was both embarrassed and happy, burying my face in his neck. In my heart, I silently thought, "Big brother, you'd better make good on your promise. My entire life of eating porridge or rice depends on you now." After William was detained for assault, Henry's mom couldn't sit still. She repeatedly demanded that her son release him, or she would threaten to strip his inheritance rights. However, times had changed. Henry's business skills were no joke. He had foreseen this day and had secretly invested in a new company under his personal name. With John's help and connections, the company had grown into a major dark horse in the industry. Now, the time had come to close the net. William's family went bankrupt, and Grace's mom's business had to be sold. Just as Henry's mom was threatening him with her life, I received the information I had Daniel investigate. Ever since I saw Grace wearing fake luxury goods, I had my doubts. This woman who prided herself on being wealthy, why did she always wear knockoffs? It turned out that 3 years ago, Grace didn't go abroad for studies, but because she was pregnant with William's child. But William didn't want the baby. Her mother also opposed her having a child at such a young age and threatened to cut off her living expenses. Unfortunately, Grace was deeply in love. She thought that by having the baby, William would give up his other relationships and settle down with her. To defy the world, Grace went abroad to give birth, selling off her valuable possessions along the way. 3 years later, after spending almost all the money, she had no choice but to leave the child with a local couple for adoption. Then she returned to the country alone to negotiate. But to her surprise, William's family had fallen on hard times, and her mother's beauty salon had long since gone under. Reluctantly, Grace had to sell off the expensive gifts she had been given and send money abroad to support the child. Not only that, she planned to accept William's proposal to use Henry's mom's trust to marry into the Henry family and rob their fortune. When I presented the solid evidence, Henry's mother still didn't believe it. Grace's mother accused me of slandering her. Grace's acting wasn't this good. As soon as she saw the child in the photos, she immediately broke down in tears. "Mom, I don't want to be separated from the child. Please, let me bring him back." Seeing her daughter confessing without being asked, Grace's mother slapped her hard a few times. Henry's mother never expected that her lifelong friend, someone she had treated with sincerity, would join forces to deceive her. The disappointment and despair caused Henry's mother to suffer a heart attack, and she was rushed to the ICU. When she woke up, she had become a complete vegetable, unable to move. The big tree had fallen. Charlotte and all the spies were kicked out of the company. The William family had completely lost any hope of recovering. William tried to sell Mr. Cameron's paintings to flee abroad. But when he learned I was the real granddaughter of the grandfather, he was overcome with despair. Henry handed over all the evidence he had collected over the years to the police. William had assaulted multiple girls. The William family had committed various financial crimes. Now, they were going to face prison time. Grace remained hopelessly devoted, constantly claiming that she would wait for him to get out. Grace's mother was furious. She got into a physical fight with her daughter in the street, only for both of them to be run over by a large truck in its blind spot. One died, and the other was injured. Hearing this outcome, Henry clenched his fists tightly. I couldn't tell if it was out of regret or out of revenge. Life is like that, what you sow is what you reap. I slowly pried open his long fingers, until our hands were tightly interlocked. Too much greed ultimately leads to retribution, and no one else can be blamed. When things finally settled down, Daniel asked me to go to my grandfather's house, saying he had something valuable for me. Seeing several bank cards with shocking balances and a room full of paintings appraised at high values, I was stunned. A parent's love for their child is deep and far-reaching. Daniel said my grandfather had been worried that I would be too carefree and get scammed, so he had deliberately kept it hidden from me. But now, I had found someone I could rely on, and I could start learning how to manage my finances. When I saw my grandfather's handwritten letter, my breath caught. His strong handwriting mentioned my parents, who had already passed away. Grandfather felt guilty for not properly raising my dad, which had led him down the wrong path of reckless spending. In the end, my father's debts had caused him to lose his life, which led to my mother's death as well. I stood in the study, speechless for a long time. Daniel, sensing my sorrow, left, leaving Henry behind to stay with me. Henry held me for a while. After he let go, he noticed a small jade pendant on the bookshelf. He studied it for a long time before asking, "Is this your grandfather's?" Yes. My playful grandfather wasn't only good at painting, he was also a master carver. When I was little, he often made fun little things for me. After my parents' accident, I often had nightmares. So, my grandfather carved a pair of jade heae pendants from fine jade. He hoped that from then on, my life would go smoothly. But one of them was missing, and I didn't know when it had disappeared. Henry looked surprised. I also have a heae pendant, exactly the same as yours. It was given to me by a kind old man when I was very young. Back then, Henry had run away from home after being tortured by Grace's mother. For several days, he wandered the streets like a beggar. He came across an old man cooking food by the riverbank. Henry, starving, approached him. The old man smiled warmly and waved, "Child, why are you out here all alone?" Henry, feeling wronged, said his mother didn't love him. The old man kindly invited him to eat. Henry, already famished, had never felt that rice with a slightly burnt flavor could taste so good, and he didn't even leave any of the crispy rice at the bottom of the pot. Before leaving, the old man gave him a heae pendant, telling him that life is not always as we wish, but as long as we face it with optimism, things will eventually get better. Later, in gratitude for the old man who had helped him, Henry named one of his properties heae Mall. Staring at the two identical heae pendants, I could hardly believe it. Holding the smooth jade, I missed that mischievous old man so much. In the quiet of the night, I dreamed of my grandfather after a long time. I cried as I rushed to him, "Stubborn old man. You left while I was in college, and I didn't even get to see you one last time. Sweet granddaughter, don't cry, okay?" Grandfather comforted me. Grandfather was worried you wouldn't be able to take care of yourself, so he specially found a very good grandson-in-law for you. He has good character and knows how to appreciate kindness. Before I left, he even came to buy a painting from me. Shocked. Could it be that the things I heard from Henry's heart were all arranged by grandfather? The sky was starting to brighten. Grandfather's image slowly became blurry. He waved his hand to say goodbye. "You two take care of each other from now on. Be honest, and you'll have a happy life together." Got it, old man. Woo, next life you have to be my grandfather again. When I woke up, my face was wet with tears. Henry immediately asked what had happened. I dreamed of grandfather. He said we should get along well. We definitely will. And also, he told you to buy me good food and fun things every day, and you're not allowed to give any money to other women. Henry paused. His thoughts almost got stuck. Doesn't this girl know that her current fortune isn't much less than mine? Really? I was overjoyed. I leaned forward and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Henry pulled me into his arms, and deepened the kiss. In the midst of my dizzying thoughts, I heard him muttering to himself, "Looks like I have to work harder to become the wealthiest man. Otherwise, one day, this greedy little foodie will be easily snatched away." Just as I was about to protest, Henry pulled out a huge diamond ring from under the pillow and slipped it onto my finger. "Wow, wow, wow. We're rich." Seeing my overly excited reaction, Henry affectionately pinched my nose. "Little money lover." Our eyes met, and we both burst into laughter. A huge wave of happiness overwhelmed me. I was making a fuss, and he was laughing. Perhaps this is the most beautiful form of love.